Hey guys, what's up? Excoundrel here, and today we are going to be looking at all of the attachments for Rules of Survival. What they do, how they can affect your game, how they can affect your shooting, and just explaining some concepts that the attachments also benefit as well. I'll be talking about recoil and what recoil is and what it means, for instance. So let's start off by just going over what type of attachments we're going to look at. The first of which will be scopes. We're going to look at grip attachments. We're going to look at magazines, front-end attachments, and others. And when I say others, those are just the generic attachments like the cheek pad or the M4 stock or anything of that kind of nature. So we're going to start with scopes. And scopes are probably the easiest things to explain because they kind of do what they say on the tin. They give you increased vision in some way, shape, or form. But let's start off with the Holo Sight and the red dot. Both the Holo Sight and the red dot practically do the same thing. They don't actually give you any increased zoom, but it does give you the aim down sights or ADS ability. You don't get the option to look down your iron sights because iron sights don't exist on this game. So unless you get a red dot or a Holo Sight, you won't be able to look down the sights and get that increased accuracy that gives you. They're very good at close range, so in the early game, I find that these are really, really good, especially if you're fighting people in apartment buildings. And they're also quite good towards the end game as well. If you get stuck in a building and you've only got a 4 times and an 8 times, you're going to be at a disadvantage versus someone who's got a red dot or a Holo Sight in their inventory. So I'd always recommend, if you can, picking up one of these sights and keeping them to the very end game, because they can come in useful, especially when you need to put them on your assault rifle that you've been using a 4x4 the entire game. And they're accurate as far as you can see with your naked eye. So as far as you can see down the sights, that's how far that's sort of how far their accuracy is. I personally prefer the red dot, and that is simply because the red dot doesn't take up as much space when you aim down the sights. I feel that the Holo Sight is a bit intrusive. It has a very, very bulky, I guess, model when you look down the sights. So that is my personal favourite. I prefer the red dot over the Holo Sight, but it's up to you. A lot of people sometimes prefer the Holo Sight over the red dot, but just personally, I prefer the red dot. Next up is the 2x scope. Does what it says on the tin, gives you a 2x zoom. It's good for short to medium range battles, 50 to 100 meters. Pretty good in the early game, especially if you can't find anything else. Again, any scope is better than no scope, especially when you're trying to be more accurate, because you don't get the aim down sights ability unless you have a scope attached. And it can be good for later circles. It's kind of the budget version of the 4x, if I'm completely honest. The 4x in general will out-trump the 2x in every way, shape, or form. But if you get to a later game circle where you're pretty close and the enemy is in within 50 to 100 meters of you, the 4x might zoom in too much, and the 2x gives you a bit more flexibility in terms of moving quickly and making sure that you're being able to be more accurate at that kind of range. So don't overlook the 2x all the time. It is probably strictly worse than the 4x in most scenarios, but it can still have its uses, and I don't mind the 2x at all. The problem is that it's in this weird middle ground where for close range battles the red dot or the holo is better, and for long range battles the 4x is better. So it's kind of like it does a bit of both but doesn't do either excellently. But again, this scope is better than no scope, so always attach this if you don't have anything else to attach. Let's talk about the 4x scope now, and this is, again, not going to repeat it. It zooms in 4x. It's good for medium to long range battles, and if I'm honest, this is the best scope in the game for pretty much every situation. Especially when you attach it to an AR and you're lucky enough to have a silencer, this scope will carry you from early game all the way to late game. It retains relevancy at every stage in the game. Obviously, the 8x, which is the next scope up from this, is going to be great for really long range battles, for sort of getting the shot on someone who can't see you, for being able to have those really long range kills. But the 4x, it is just so relevant for loads of different scenarios. It is the best all round scope in the game. If you get a 4x, you want it on an AR, single shot, it will do you incredibly well. So 4x, you want to be looking out for these as much as possible. They are just the best scopes in the game. Now let's quickly touch on the 8x scope. Again, this is obviously, as it says on the tin, one of the better long-range, or the best long-range scope in the game, and it works really well with snipers, and you can still use it on assault rifles for that single-shot, sniper-like play style. The problem with the 8x is that it drops off late game, especially when the circle gets very, very small because it just zooms in too far. It doesn't give you great control when fighting someone at short to medium range, and you'll be at a disadvantage versus someone even with a red dot or a 4 times if you have the 8 times and it's your only scope. So make sure that if you're using this, you use this in the mid game and you swap it out towards the late game, because the zoom is just too much for the shorter and smaller circles. So let's move on to the vertical grip. To understand what the vertical grip does, we have to understand the concept of recoil. Recoil, simply put, with the diagram you can see down in the bottom left, is where you shoot a gun, especially on automatic mode, and the force of the gun's shooting, either gas getting released when you're firing the gun, causes you, the person holding the gun, to move. Therefore, the aim will move, the sights will move. In general, vertical recoil is upwards in most cases. More often than not, vertical recoil is going to be upwards, but there are instances where it can push the gun slightly downwards as well. And with horizontal recoil, in real life, it really depends on which shoulder you're holding your gun on. For instance, if you're holding your gun and poised against your right shoulder, the gases will cause you to push to the right because you're away from the center of gravity. So you're away from your center of gravity, therefore the force of the gun firing is going to push your sights to the right, and that is what is called horizontal recoil. In the games like Rules of Survival, horizontal recoil kind of can happen left to right, so it's not always consistent. But what vertical grip does, in short, is significantly reduces both horizontal and vertical recoil by giving your character something to grip at the end of the gun, meaning that when the gun moves from left to right or moves upwards, there is a way to center it at the end a bit more. In real terms, and what it actually does in the game, it basically makes you more accurate when firing on automatic mode, and makes you significantly more accurate. Compared to the horizontal grip, which we'll talk about in a minute, the vertical grip is way, way better if you're looking to fire at automatic assault rifles at a longer range. Works for SMGs as well. And vertical grip in general is probably just the best grip that you can get in the game to maintain accuracy and ensure that you're getting good shots off. Let's move on to the triangle grip, sometimes called the angled grip or the horizontal grip. It slightly reduces both horizontal and vertical recoil. So it does reduce horizontal and vertical recoil, but less so than the vertical grip, significantly less so. The only benefit that it does have over the vertical grip is that it allows you to aim down your sights quicker, or ADS quicker. The only benefit that the triangle grip would have over the horizontal, or the vertical grip, sorry, is if you're in a building situation, you have a red dot sight, and you're going to be up close and personal, where the vertical and the horizontal recoil is going to be having minimum impact. It's going to allow you to get to aiming down your sight slightly quicker, which may give you the edge when fighting someone in close quarters. So that's the benefit of the triangle over the vertical. Next we have the magazines. Now I'm not going to talk about each gun's magazines individually because they all do the same thing for different guns. There are 3 categories of magazines: the extended, the quick draw, and the XQD, which is the extended quick draw, and surprise, surprise, it's literally just a combination of the previous 2. The extended mag, for SMGs, snipers, and assault rifles, extends the amount of ammo in a single clip. So for instance, the assault rifles go from 30 ammo to 40 ammo before you have to reload. A QD mag, or a quick draw mag, it gives you a quicker reload speed. It doesn't affect the amount of bullets in a single magazine, but it means that when you need to reload, you will reload a lot quicker. The XQD, the extended quick draw, which is the best magazine to have for any of those 3 gun categories, gives you both an extended mag and obviously increases the reload speed. So that's the one that you want to aim for. Extended is better in my opinion than quick draw, because those 10 bullets can definitely make the difference in duels, and then quick draw, in my opinion, falls down to the lowest. So if you had to choose between an extended and a quick draw, always take an extended. An extended quick draw, the combination, is just better than both of those combined. Let's talk about silencers now. This is the first of our front end attachments. The main thing that silencers do, which makes them so overpowered, is that the shots do not register on the top bar, the navigation bar. When someone shoots and they don't have a silencer, the little bullet symbol comes up and it shows you the direction that person is shooting from. It's good for identifying someone shooting at you. It's good for scouting out people. In general, it's an annoying mechanic, which I wish didn't exist, but it's there. Silencers mean that you don't show up on that bar, meaning that you are basically stealth mode. It also reduces the physical shot noise of the gun that you're firing it with, and it actually reduces bullet spread as well. And bullet spread is the variance of the bullets when you are shooting, especially in automatic mode. bullets will stray off to the side and up above where you're shooting your crosshair. Having a silencer actually reduces that spread, making you a bit more accurate, especially at long range. But the reason silencers are so overpowered is that because giving away your position in this game is very easy, and being able to maintain the stealth in terms of your position gives you a massive advantage over the playing field. If you get a silencer, make sure that you use it almost over any other attachment in the game. It is just so good, especially for assault rifles. Let's move on to compensators, again for the assault rifle, the sniper and the SMG. In real life, compensators work by diverting gas expunged when firing the gun to help you maintain a steady position. They do the same thing in the game. They reduce horizontal and vertical recoil, and they also slightly reduce the bullet spread of the weapon. So compensators help you be a lot more accurate even at range, and so can be very useful in that way. I think I rate compensators as the second best attachment next to the silencer. They just help you be a little, very, very accurate. And that's a good thing, because if you're more accurate, it doesn't matter if you're silent, if you get the kill straight away, and then you can reposition. So compensators are very, very good at helping maintain your crosshair position when firing, especially in automatic. Now let's talk about flash or smoke hiders. They're called flash hiders for the sniper rifle, and the assault rifle, for some reason, the SMG is called the smoke hider. It eliminates all muzzle flash. When you fire at a weapon in Rules of Survival, and someone can see you fire that weapon, it gives off a flash. The smoke hider and the flash hiders just eliminate that flash, so you can't sort of be identified by the flash of your gun firing. It also slightly reduces both vertical and horizontal recoil. Interestingly enough, in real life, it doesn't actually eliminate the flash of the weapon, it just diverts the flash of the weapon so that you can see better if you're aiming down a sight. But in this game, it just completely eliminates it, so hey, take it where you can get it. Again, I rate this below the compensator and the silencer, but again, it is better than nothing, so make sure you're always attaching anything that you can get to your weapons. And finally, the shotgun choke. Don't think I forgot about the shotgun, did you? What it does is it reduces the shotgun bullet spread. Obviously, the point of a shotgun is that it spreads its bullets out in a cone, supposedly giving you a wide area effect, meaning that you have to be less accurate. What it does is the shotgun choke is it makes your shotgun more accurate and slightly increases the range as well as increasing the firing rate. The point of a shotgun choke is supposed to be that you deal more damage if you're more accurate with your shotgun. So again, it's a good attachment to have if you only have a shotgun and you're in close quarters, because it means that you can deal more damage to your opponent, especially if they're just that little bit further away from you. And while we're on the topic of shotguns, let's move on to the other category, where there are 3 remaining things to talk about. One of which is the shotgun bullet loop. The shotgun bullet loop basically acts as a quick draw magazine for the shotgun, and it greatly reduces the reload time. Moving on, the M4 tactical stock, the attachment that can only be attached to the M4 assault rifle. And all it does is that it effectively reduces both the horizontal and the vertical recoil of the weapon, making it a lot more accurate. It's one of the reasons why I like the M4 at the moment. This attachment, if you can get your hands on it, means you are far more accurate at range, especially when firing on auto mode. So always keep an eye out for this attachment if you have the M4 and you favour the M4 as your assault rifle of choice. And finally, the sniper rifle cheek pad. Its main action is to reduce vertical recoil. I don't think vertical recoil matters that much on the sniper, especially the single-shot snipers that pull you out of the sights when you shoot them, like the Barrett. It can help with the SVD, but realistically, this is only going to benefit you if you attach it, but I don't think it has that much of an impact for a single-shot weapon. Apparently, from what I've read, I don't know how true this is, it increases reload speed, but I have no idea how a cheek pad would do that. Anyway, guys, I hope this has been helpful for you. I decided to do this because I found all the resources for the attachments, and I thought it would be a good idea to just create a resource so you guys understood what each of them did, and I gave you my opinion on what I kind of like in which situation. Long video, hope you enjoyed it though, and I'll be back next week. I won't be uploading tomorrow, probably I might upload something tomorrow to see how it goes, but I'll be back next week doing some Vainglory and more Rules of Survival content.